I'm Sam Short and this is Jack Warwick. The whole purpose of this podcast is really just to help get more people into boating, help people get more out of their boats and more out of their life. I've been on and around boating my whole life. Our story took a turn in 2009 when we lost our dad in a yacht racing accident off Sydney. My brother and I were left at a crossroads, whether to go and work for someone else or to start our own thing, and started from scratch and have built the business up from there. We've got offices based in Sydney and on the Gold Coast. We run a full in-house service centre.
Our customers are some of the most successful people in Australia, and so I'm super excited to bring on some of the guests that we've got lined up.
We have a genuine interest in wanting people to experience boating in the way that we did, and knowing the benefit of what boating can do for people when it's done right, and the memories it can create, and how it can improve and enrich people's lives and relationships in every way. So here we are, first episode of the podcast. I'm Sam Short and this is Jack Warwick. And the whole purpose of this podcast is really just to help get more people into boating, help people get more out of their boats and really more out of their life as well.
Yeah, that's it. I suppose before we dive into everything, because we've got a whole bunch of stuff to take you guys through today around what the podcast is going to be about and what you can expect. But I think what would be best is probably, Sam, give us a little bit of a rundown of Short Marine, who we're representing.
Yeah, so Short Marine is a business that my brother and I founded 9-10 years ago now. We're 3 generations in the industry. We represent 7 of the world's leading brands here in Australia: Grady-White, Capelli, Chris-Craft, Regal, Viking, Valhalla and Azimut. Yeah, we've got offices based in Sydney and on the Gold Coast. We run a full in-house service centre, one of the only one-stop shops in the country. And yeah, the whole business has been built around trying to make boating easy and enjoyable. And this is just us really trying to take that to the next level.
Yeah, and I think something that was attractive to me when I first came over to the business was also you guys were a service business before you were a dealership or a brokerage, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I think there aren't many dealerships that have started in that way. And for us, it wasn't necessarily intentional. We were working for Dad at the time, who had a boat dealership in his service department, and then his business no longer existed. We started as a service business because that's all we knew and that's what we were doing. And so for us, it was just the natural, organic next step after building the service business for so many years to move into sales. And our philosophy since then has just been so heavily built around the service side of the business.
And a bit more context, guys, like why that was appealing for me is, when you do go and deliver a new boat or a pre-owned boat to a customer, it's having, full service offering once they take ownership of the boat. So that was attractive for me. But mate, you kind of started getting going on your story there. I think that was kind of where we were heading next. Why don't you give a little bit about yourself to everyone, for those listening at home who don't know you?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I'm 32, been, in and around boats, and Dad had us detailing boats from a very young age. And so I've been on and around boating my whole life. And our story took a turn in 2009 when we lost our dad in a yacht racing accident off Sydney. He was only 48 at the time. I was 16, and really changed our lives forever. And, it was around the GFC. So, the business in general, when the industry was doing it tough as it was, and, within a year or two of him passing away, they wound that business up. And then it kind of, my brother and I were left at a crossroads, whether to go and work for someone else or to start our own thing. And having worked in the service business at the time, and my brother Ryan was running the slipway here, that's where it all started. And we started from scratch and have built the business up from there. And so for me personally, I've been involved and around boats and doing everything from detailing to hauling the boats out to doing the anti-fouling and the polishing. And we kind of went from that to wanting to build out the business and get into sales. And so we took on the Yamaha dealership for here in Sydney Harbour. And then from there progressed to approaching Grady-White and seeing if we could represent them for the New South Wales market. And yeah, here we are now. We've got 7 brands, as touched on before, that we represent. They're the best brands in the world, and we're lucky enough to represent them here in Australia. And
I suppose just on that, how did you end up with the brands that you have? Why do you have the brands that you have? Was it just by default they were available, or these are brands that you went out and seeked yourself?
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of intention behind the brands that we approached, and as we've added each brand to our portfolio over the last few years, there has been a lot of thought behind it. And for us, the vision was always to represent the best boat brands in the world, but from each of the different categories. And the main reason behind that is because we have a genuine interest in wanting people to experience boating in the way that we did, and knowing the benefit of what what boating can do for people when it's done right, and the memories it can create, and how it can improve and enrich people's lives and relationships in every way. We want to just go about it the right way. And for us, there is a different boat that's suited for everyone depending on how they're using it. To be able to approach a conversation from the very beginning, find out exactly what it is that they want to be doing and how they want to be using it and where they want to go and what their level of experience is, and then be able to go to our brands offering and our product offering, and be able to present a solution that's going to suit them best and give them the best chance of getting the most out of their boating. That's where it started. We don't represent the bottom end of the market. We do, niche ourselves in the premium brands, but we have invested a lot in providing a premium service to go with it. And that's where a lot of that, that one-stop shop element of us wanting to offer everything in-house, from all of the mechanical, all of the electrical, the detailing, the shipwrights and the anti-fouling, all in-house, all one shop, is just because people want convenience. They want it to be easy. And we feel if we do that right, then people are going to ultimately get more out of their boats.
Yeah, beautiful.
And what about you, Jack? Why don't you tell us your story and how you winded up where you are?
Yeah, mate, probably shouldn't be here, to be honest. Grew up out in a small country town called Cowra, 4.5 hours southwest of Sydney, living on a small farm out there, and we had the local butcher shop. But before doing that, the reason we moved there was because my mum actually grew up there. But my father had always worked on boats. He's a master four. He, skippered ferries, barges, tugboats, you name it, on the harbour. And then when I was 13, we moved up to Queensland because we were kind of sick of the country life and needed a sea change. So we moved up to out at Cleveland on the bayside there of Brisbane, where Dad was then driving the ferries and the barges there as well. So I'd race home after school and 3:30 and jump on the barge with him and do the last 2 laps and get home at 9 o'clock at night with him. I just had a crazy passion for being on the water. Once you get to an old enough age, I think I was 10 or 11 or 12 or something, him and I were out fishing on a little 5-meter center console, bashing through Moreton Bay every single weekend, and just got the bug basically. And then so probably when I was about 18, 19 thereabouts, I was a deckhand on the City Cat and Brisbane River, and then ultimately ended up moving down to Sydney. But I was working in advertising for kind of many years, but obviously still had the bug inside of me, and managed to find my way back. So after kind of wrapping up my advertising agency after 9 years here in Sydney, started doing brokerage. So I worked for another brokerage for a couple of years, and then found my way over to you guys.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I mean, why don't you tell that story as well? I mean, how you found your way from where you were, what drew you really to Short Marine and what we do.
Oh, mostly you, mate.
Yeah.
No, look, we'd done a couple of deals together. I had a couple of clients that were looking for more fishing-oriented boats, and I mean, whilst it's not our full portfolio here, there is a large sector of that. And so I had a couple of clients looking for boats. You and I got a couple of deals away, and we worked really well together. I think we had the same mindset. We just wanted to find the right boat based on what the customer needed. It wasn't about, there was no politics involved. And I think, the brokerage that I was with before, we were doing, larger sports cruisers and motor yachts. You're selling less boats, there's less inquiry. I wanted to really ramp up, how many boats I was doing. And I did, sit down with you and chat to you about how this market was really growing. There's a lot of people moving out of larger sports cruisers and traditional cruisers and, ribs and maritimos and the likes, and they're wanting to get on more of a day boat. When I sat down with you and noticed the portfolio of brands that you have, there are amazing day boats. There's a lot of people getting into them. There's a lot of inquiry. And it's also just the kind of boating that I like. I like to get on the boat and go out and have an amazing day with friends and family and come back and sleep in my own bed for the most part.
Yeah. I think it was also, a big penny drop moment for you. If you can recall, I think we went for a coffee and I'd just gotten back from, I think it was the Chris Craft Dealer Conference actually over in the US. And I remember they brought up some market share data over there and really showing the different segments of boating, everything from yachts and cruisers to fiberglass outboard boats to aluminium boats to jet skis. And if you recall, kind of seeing just how big the fiberglass outboard market was in comparison to the motor cruiser and yacht market, and also just seeing the massive decline in that area, which whilst where you were, they represent great brands. They are the best brands really in that category, or at least up there. There's just not the volume of those boats being sold down here in Australia. Well, not even just in Australia, in the world. And so I think it just felt kind of natural at the time for you, especially given we spoke about, you kind of wanted to take more of an approach of, well, let's just try and get to actually understand what people want and fit them into something that's going to be suited for them, rather than be limited to a couple of brands that, really are only suited to a couple of people.
Yeah. And we're seeing that in the product itself, right? I mean, we're sitting on board today a Regal LX36. Regal, traditionally was, you would consider them like a Sea Ray, smaller trailer boat, outboard style boat, or even inboard, petrol stern drives. And they've completely adapted what they're doing in terms of their product. You look at models like the 43 SAV or the 50 SAV, that is a all-round vessel that you can do absolutely everything on. And
Mm.
so, yeah, I think there's definitely a shift in the market in terms of what people are wanting, and the brands are keeping up with it as well.
Yeah, and I think you talk about those SAV models from Regal. The fact that they got to number one market share from the 33 to 50 foot category this year, which they've never, explored that, and it is largely due to those SAV models and just how well they do that mix between, a family day boat cruiser. And they give you the ability to do offshore adventures and
Mm,
offshore fishing, and so I think that also just speaks to this, this trend that people are stepping away from these bigger boats. They want something simple, easy that they can just get on and go, but still have a lot of big entertaining space to entertain large groups of people.
mm.
But back to the podcast, Jack. We know kind of, we've just spoken about why we're looking at doing this, and but what can people expect? So from future episodes, obviously this is just you and I, but from future episodes, what can people expect?
Yeah, look, this really is just an introduction as to who we are, what we do, and what's going to be coming to you guys in the future. First and foremost, you're going to be able to listen to it on all of your streaming platforms audibly, but then also we're going to do YouTube versions and then also cut downs for social, so you get a little snippet or a teaser every single week. In terms of kind of the content that's going to be that we're going to be talking about, you're going to have a mix of the brands that we've got, the people that work for these companies, a lot of customer stories as well, and include customers. And I mean, look, you touched on it earlier. Our customers are some of the most successful people in
Mm.
Australia, and so I'm super excited to bring on some of the guests that we've got lined up. Also, a lot of amazing industry people. So we really want to spotlight, people within the industry. Sorry if there's a bit of background noise here, folks. We are on a boat today and decided to go and do this live, so it could be a little bit interesting. So bear with us. Where was I? Yeah. So also spotlighting a lot of people in the industry. So looking forward to really showcasing a little bit of everything within the boating world.
Yeah, and we really think, we're by no means, sitting here to think that we kind of know it all. We certainly don't. But, our goal of trying to help people get more people into boating, help people get more out of their boats and also their life. We really feel that the customers, the people, within the industry and people that we know and the value that they have to give, it's something that hopefully, the people listening get a lot of value out of as well. All right, mate. Well, I think this whole first episode was not intended to be to be a long one by any means, more of just an introduction. So I think we'll leave it there and pick it up next time.
Yeah, and in terms of like how often you can expect one of these, they're a lot of work and they're difficult to do, and so the reality is we're going to try and do them as often as possible, but it is going to be dependent on guests, dependent on both of our schedules. But yeah, kind of our commitment is to do it as regularly as possible, both here in Australia and when we travel overseas, and speak to some of the dealers as well. So yeah, plenty of exciting stuff in store. If you've got any guests that you might want to see personally, feel free to leave us a comment, and also if you want to get in touch with the show, we'll leave how you do that in the show notes down the bottom. But it'd be amazing ultimately if you guys give us a follow along, and also share it with your friends. I mean, we're only going to be as excited to do it as based on how excited you are to listen to it and want to listen to it. So yeah, that's the kind of my only request in terms of us keep on pushing these things out.